Hey everyone, hopefully you're having a good day. My name's Andy, my channel is Finding Value. We're going to do our daily technical analysis update on gold and silver. We're going to look at the dollar. We're going to look at the 10-year yield, the continuous contracts, ETFs, individual companies, and what we're doing is we're trying to gauge the overall sector. And I'm a bull on the sector. We are in, if you look at a big picture view, we are in an uptrend, and we're kind of zoomed in a lot of these for a medium to short-term viewpoint. So I'm not really concerned about the question if gold and silver is going to go up. I'm more trying to answer, when and should I be adding into it? That's kind of my paradigm and viewpoint when looking at these. And the reason I have that paradigm is because we're in an expansionary phase. We're seeing inflation. We're seeing rates start to go up. And this is the perfect market conditions for gold and silver and platinum and all these precious metals and commodities to go higher. So my paradigm is that this will go higher. I just don't know the exact timing of it. That's kind of my outlook. And I'm looking at it from that paradigm. Now, can that jade your view in technical analysis? I'm going to say no, because if you look at the market conditions history, they've gone up during these periods, and it's been 100% of the time. There hasn't been a time where you've had these market conditions align like this and have it not go up. So I'm really looking at the technicals to say, when are we moving? How are we doing it? And using this as, we'll call it information data to see what to expect. So again, this is just my financial opinion. Please don't take it as advice. And let's dive in and give you my opinion. So here we go. This is the dollar and gold, and what we see is an inverse correlation. When the dollar drops, gold goes up. When gold goes down, usually the dollar is strengthening. Now, will this relationship hold all the time? No. They do diverge at some point. But generally speaking, and it's not every single day that you get a direct correlation, but generally speaking, when the dollar goes down, gold goes up. And we've got the dollar here. I'm going to throw in a couple of trend lines here. And this is somewhat zoomed in. And you would think that this is like going to break to the upside. And one thing I'll say is if you do a real short term, you could look at it like this, where it's kind of going up in this channel. You can kind of draw it from this perspective here where, yeah, we've got a breakout to the upside and we're doing a retest. But looking at it and looking at the market conditions, I don't know how this thing's going to go a lot higher. It could go higher in the short term, but on a long-term perspective, every time we have an expansionary phase of real estate, and I know that the dollar, this chart is, it's the dollar in relationship to a basket of currencies, and those other currencies are also going down. But if any other currencies have problems with their real estate or they can't get inflation, the dollar should drop because of inflation. And we're going into that expansionary phase, and every single time we've gone into an expansionary phase like we have, the dollar index has dropped. So that's what I'm expecting because of that repeat in history. That's what I'm looking for. And we've got the 10-year. The 10-year is moving on up. And I'll just throw this simple line in here. We broke out of this guy here. We back tested, and we're moving higher in terms of yields. That the interest rate is moving up on the 10-year yield. So interest rates are moving higher. And when interest rates get high enough, bondholders are going to sell, and they're going to rotate that money into precious metals, is my opinion. And I'm just waiting for that rotation to happen. And we're seeing the inflation already happen. I think the transitory narrative is going to wear off of people. And with this 10-year yield moving on up, I do think that it's going to cause a rotation of money out of bonds and out of stocks. And stocks may go up for a little while. It may not be immediate because we're still at very low interest rate levels. But at some point here, when this gets high enough, and I don't know the exact timing of that, we should see gold take off. Here's gold. I'll show you the trend line that we're playing with here. We put it in here. We draw this thing down, and we're playing with this, trying to break out here. We kind of broke out, and then we came back. We're breaking out, we're coming back. It's like, come on, man. Today, we basically ran and then came back. Gold is acting like it's a very confused person, but I think overall we'll eventually work our way higher, break this little downtrend line, break 1837. 1837 is another resistance level that we're at right here that we're trying to break through. And if we break through that, I think it's game over for the bears. I think we can move substantially higher if we close and stay above 1837. Right now, we've got a good run up in terms of buying pressure in these candlesticks. We've got small sell-offs. We've got this one sell-off day here. But the buyers are coming in and stepping back in, which is good. We need that to continue. Now, another thing that gets me a little bit more confident is we're seeing silver also perform well. See that? We're breaking out. We broke the downtrend line. Silver's breaking out. It's almost as if gold isn't our leader anymore, and platinum and silver are. But silver's looking like it's ready to go. We've got good buying pressure and small selling pressure all through here. So when I look at this, I see this as a very good fundamental bullish picture that's forming to move to the upside. And we're also seeing that with platinum. Platinum is also looking very good. On a big long-term perspective, we're just doing short-term patterns here. On a big long-term perspective, platinum looks fantastic. It's also the cheapest from a ratio perspective, and we're moving on up. We could come back. I'm not saying that we're immune to a little pullback or anything, but it looks good to continue higher. We've got more buying pressure than selling pressure, and hopefully we can just take off and run. Here's copper. I threw copper in the mix to show you guys kind of what's going on, because this is also breaking out of its pattern here. We've got this pattern here. I just drew the top line of it. We broke out of that resistance. Big buying pressure. We've come to a little bit of a pause. The sellers aren't whopping this back down. We're just coming up into some resistance that we've got up here, almost to its all-time highs. And I think what's going to happen is you're going to almost scribe a cup and handle pattern where this thing kind of goes down sideways and then breaks to the upside. How long that takes, I don't know. But all you have to do is kind of move this up, and we see it all the time. There's your high there, and we could develop a cup and handle pattern here where we break and move to the upside. Here's GDX. GDX is looking okay. I would say better if it ended strong today. It didn't end strong. So there's nothing necessarily bad to say about this, but there's nothing really exciting about it yet. We got the downtrend line broken. We broke out of that. Now, I think when we break a downtrend line, I think to myself that now's the time to accumulate, because the downside's done and we're ready to start moving higher. It doesn't mean that we just go straight up. It means that it's going to move all about. We could come back and back test down here at $30 and something, this trend line, before moving higher. I view that as a buying opportunity. I don't view that as a selling opportunity. It's a buying opportunity. And I'm just looking and kind of hanging out and seeing what this is going to do. Usually with a black candlestick, you head lower, but not all the time. It's only a statistical probability. It's only 60% of the time, or 70% of the time, or whatever, something on the lines of that. But if we do have a pullback, what I'd like to see is a small pullback and small down days if we get one. And then I want to see buyers step in and push it higher. That's what my expectations are on all days. Because the downtrend lines on all these charts are being broken. And when we broke them, we had big buying pressure up days when we broke them, and small selling pressure. That is a signature trait that we want to go higher. So short term, yes, we could come down a little bit, but I think eventually it's going to resolve upward, not downward, because of the big buying pressure all applied in this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We went 7 days up and 2 days back, and all we mustered, the sellers, was to move it back a little bit. I think it's ready to go higher, in my opinion. And we're seeing that across all these different, even individual companies. We've been moving sideways here. I think it's going to resolve upward. Doesn't mean it's going to happen tomorrow. This black candlestick, we very well could kind of move sideways or go back and forth a little bit before moving on up. But it looks like we've got a pattern here where we've sold off, and then the sell-off has stopped here with this bullish engulfing, and we've reversed higher. It doesn't mean that we're just going to break and go higher. We could go sideways for a little bit longer before moving up. But I think the downtrend is broken. So what I'm expecting next is if we do pull back, that it's going to be a pullback that's higher than this low. I don't want to break this low again. I want to create a higher low and a higher high, which then means that we are in an uptrend. And that's what we're seeing is these downtrend lines break, but we haven't developed an uptrend line yet. That's what's next. So I don't want to break below this nice, good support area down here, and I don't think we will. So I think even if we come back, I think it'll come back to like here, and then we'll move on up. So that's a higher low, and then we got to break this to make a higher high. That's a new uptrend. So we're in the process of making a new uptrend, in my opinion. And that's what we're seeing with Aftermath Silver. We've got this, and I'm putting some of these companies, and I'm buying them down here, guys. I'm going to disclose that I am purchasing them. But what happened here is you break the downtrend line. We're coming on down. We're trading. Now, these, we have to change this downtrend. We changed it by breaking up, coming back, and then we get the big buying pressure. Do you see the difference in candlesticks coming down? They're all small. They're all down days, but they're small up days all through here. Right here, it changed. It changed with large buying pressure up days and then small selling pressure down. We went up 1, 2, 3, 4, about 4 up days, and then we have all these small down days coming down back to the beginning of where we basically dug our heels in the sand, so to speak. Then we popped higher again, and what we want to see is the lows, this low here, which I hope holds, that the lows progressively get higher. That's what we're looking for. This could be a triple bottom where we're coming up and we want a low to be somewhere in this range here to move on higher. And then we got to break these highs in here. Break it and move on up. That's what I'm looking for. And we're starting to see some of these downtrend lines break and that we're forming uptrend patterns, I think. And we're seeing it with some of these buying pressure days in here, Franco-Nevada, downtrend line break, big buying pressure. I think this is going to continue higher. And we're seeing it in a lot of these companies, wheat and precious metals. It's starting to move on up. And we could have a down day tomorrow because with these black candlesticks usually means the momentum's heading down a little bit. But maybe not. We'll see. Sandstorm Gold, big buying pressure, small selling pressure. That's exactly what I look for in a bottom. And what you want to do is you want to pair that buying pressure and selling pressure with a downtrend line break, which we have right like in there. So we broke the downtrend line, and we've got the big buying pressure and small selling pressure. I think and keep in mind, when these professional investors, these big guys, they try to scare people out. So what they're going to do is they're going to gap something down in the morning, and they're going to try to scare people with a number, and then they're going to drive it back up and buy it up throughout the day to try to get cheaper shares. So they're driving it. I already see that someone's accumulating this, and then we have small sell-off, and I think we're going to head higher over time. And we're seeing that in all of these companies. Big buying pressure, small selling pressure, bullish engulfing patterns in the candlesticks. This is all an indication that we want to go up. And there's Barrick Gold as well, with its trend line break as well. And sometimes what we're seeing is we're seeing a sell-off here, a big sell-off. We came on up, a smaller sell-off. We're coming on up. We could have a small sell-off left that we go sideways, and then we're going to turn and move on up, I think. But it's looking good. It's progressing in a positive development. It's not going backwards. So overall, I think gold and silver look really good. I think that we could be bottoming. Now, remember, we're playing with statistics. We're not playing with for sure outcomes. So we're playing with statistics. We're playing with probabilities. And these probabilities can, they can work in the smaller probability outcome. We could head lower at some point. But looking at the candlestick buying pressure candlesticks and the selling pressures, I think that this is going to resolve upward based off of that and the downtrend line breaks. So I'm looking for a move up. I've been accumulating a little bit myself. That is not advice, but that's what I've done. I've bought some of these smaller silver companies, and I'm playing it for the move higher. Platinum looks good. Silver looks good. Gold is lagging behind. That's where we are right now, and a lot of these companies have broken their downtrends. Sometimes the mining companies lead the price of gold. Most of the time, that's the case. So hopefully that's the case this time. Fingers crossed. We'll see what happens. If you guys like this analysis, subscribe to the channel, give me a thumbs up, and thank you for listening. This is Finding Value.